There are places where time does not move. They exist between moments, between one heartbeat and the next, where history has stopped to breathe. Most people pass them without ever knowing, but they are there, the seconds that refused to end. We call this place the Dream Vault. It is not a dream, though it feels like one. It is not memory, though it's built from them. We will take you there under one condition: that time is left exactly as we found it. Even the smallest change can echo without end. This is the contract between us, between the waking world and the one held still. If you accept, then take a deep breath.
The ceiling above your bed loses its edges first. The plaster softens, the familiar crack near the light fitting blurs and dissolves, and something colder takes its place. Stone, cut and fitted, the weight of a public building pressing down where a bedroom should be. The covers slide, the bed tilts beneath you. Not much, just enough to notice. The angle of a floor that has lost its level, the slight wrongness of gravity shifting its loyalty from one architecture to another. Marble under your feet now, cold, polished, the particular cold of stone that has never been warm. A building in March, unheated, the temperature of history stored in mineral. Your bedroom walls fall away and columns rise in their place. Tall, fluted, limestone, the scale of something built to intimidate. The ceiling is no longer plaster. It is coffered wood, painted in red and blue. Gilded rosettes at the intersections catching light that comes from oil lamps, not electricity. The air smells different. Incense, wool, the faintest trace of something copper sharp. March 15th, 44 BC, 11 o'clock in the morning. Rome, a building called the Curia Pompeia, a Senate chamber attached to a theatre. Temporary quarters while the real Senate House is rebuilt. 200 senators in white togas sit on wooden benches, arranged in a semicircle. Oil lamps burn on bronze stands. Marble reflects the light from below. At the front of the chamber, a gilded chair, the seat of supreme authority, positioned beneath a statue of a dead general. A man is dying. He stands at the center of the room, surrounded by a ring of men with knives, short, wide, leaf-shaped military blades, drawn from beneath senatorial robes. 23 daggers, blood on marble. The most powerful man in the world, conqueror of Gaul, master of the Mediterranean, dictator for life, is falling at the feet of a statue of the rival he destroyed 6 years ago. He was warned. His wife dreamed this. A soothsayer told him to fear this day. A Greek teacher tried to hand him a scroll naming every man who would hold a blade. He came anyway. The moment holds. The blood hangs in the air. The daggers are suspended in their arcs. 200 senators are frozen in the first instant of understanding that their world has just ended. Step forward. The investigation begins. Step into the portico. Limestone columns frame the entrance. Tall, fluted, the craftsmanship of architects who built for a man wealthy enough to raise Rome's first permanent theatre. Morning light slants across the marble threshold. The angle sharp. The shadows of the columns falling in parallel bars across the floor. The Curia Pompeia is not the Senate's usual home. the Curia Hostilia is under reconstruction. Scaffolding, half-laid stone, years of work remaining. The Senate meets here, in a hall attached to the Theatre of Pompey, because there is nowhere else to go. Gnaeus Pompeius Magnus, Pompey the Great, built this complex 20 years ago. Caesar defeated him at Pharsalus in 48 BC. Pompey fled to Egypt. His head came back in a jar, a gift from a boy king trying to curry favor. Touch the nearest column. The stone is cold under your palm, the fluting precise, the limestone still sharp after 2 decades of Roman weather. 2 men stand at the left-hand column, deep in conversation. Crouch beside the taller one. Powerful build, a soldier's shoulders filling the toga, a jaw set mid-laugh, the easy posture of a man who has never doubted his own strength. Marcus Antonius. Mark Antony, 39 years old, Caesar's co-consul, his political partner, the second most powerful man in Rome. His hands are empty. He carries no weapon. He has no idea what is happening inside the chamber. The man facing him is Gaius Trebonius, a veteran of Caesar's Gallic campaigns, a trusted officer, one of 60 senators who have sworn to kill their dictator this morning. Trebonius's job is simple and specific. Keep Antony talking. About supply routes, about the upcoming Parthian campaign, about anything. Long enough for the others to reach Caesar. If Antony enters the Curia, the plan collapses. He is strong enough to fight, loyal enough to warn, popular enough to rally 200 unarmed senators into resistance. Grip Trebonius's forearm. Beneath the toga sleeve, the muscles are rigid. The body betrays what the face conceals. A papyrus scroll lies on the marble floor near the doorway. Pick it up. Unroll it. Greek handwriting. Neat, precise, urgent. Names. Dozens of names. Artemidorus of Cnidus wrote this. A Greek rhetoric teacher who knew several conspirators personally. He heard about the plot from a friend who was approached and refused. One refusal, one conversation, one man's conscience, and then this scroll, naming every assassin, detailing the plan. Artemidorus tried to hand it to Caesar in the crowd outside. Caesar took it among a sheaf of other petitions, tucked it away without reading, and walked into the Senate carrying his own death warrant. The scroll is here on the floor because it was never opened. The conspiracy exposed on papyrus. Useless because it landed in a pile of grain requisitions and tax complaints. 4 slaves sit on the portico steps. Caesar's litter-bearers, waiting. Examine the nearest. Heavy arms, calloused hands, the build of a man who carries weight for a profession. The litter rests against the wall behind him. Wooden poles, cushioned platform, curtains drawn aside. It carried the dictator here this morning. It will carry his body home tonight, and the historian Suetonius will record a detail that has not left the historical imagination since. One arm dangling from the stretcher as the slaves walk through the streets of Rome. Step through the doorway. The light changes, morning sun to oil lamp, the temperature drops, the marble amplifying every sound into something sharper and closer. Press your palm against the corridor wall. The plaster is cool. Pompey's plaster in Pompey's building. The Senate had refused to allow permanent theatres for decades, considering them morally corrupting. Pompey circumvented the ban by placing a temple to Venus Victrix at the summit of the seating, technically making the audience steps into temple stairs. A politician's solution to a political problem. The Curia Pompeia. marble floor, white Carrara with grey veins, polished, the kind of surface that holds light and gives it back. Wooden benches radiate outward in a semicircle, 3 tiers deep, designed for 600 senators, holding just over 200 today. Oil lamps on bronze stands cast the light unevenly, golden near the flames, dark between the benches, the shadows pooling in the far corners where the marble gives way to plaster walls. The gilded chair at the front commands the room. Examine it. Ivory armrests carved with eagle claw feet, the curule design, folding legs in an X shape, the portable seat of Roman authority. The cushion is Tyrian purple, dyed from sea snails at a cost that exceeds a senator's annual income. Caesar received visitors from this chair without standing, a breach of protocol that infuriated the senators, who are now drawing daggers around him. Kings receive seated, consuls stand. The chair became its own argument for assassination. Look up, the coffered ceiling, its painted beams dark above the lamplight. A spider's web hangs in the corner of one coffer, its thread catching the light. The ceiling has watched 482 years of debate. It watches this. At the center of the floor, a man surrounded by a closing ring of men. Tilius Cimber stands closest, his hand gripping Caesar's toga at the left shoulder, pulling the purple wool from the body. This was the pretext. A petition for his exiled brother. The approach, the grab. The grab is the signal. Examine his grip. Knuckles white, the wool bunched in his fist, the purple pretextor, the garment of supreme authority, half torn from Caesar's shoulder. Behind Caesar, arm extended, blade already wet. Publius Servilius Casca. The first blow, a downward slash at the base of the neck, shallow, blood drawn but not fatal. A glancing cut, crouch behind Casca. His jaw is clamped, teeth visible, the expression of a man who has crossed a line he cannot recross. The dagger in his hand, a pugio. Short, wide, leaf-shaped, double-edged, a military sidearm, not a senator's ornament. He carried it beneath his toga for hours, the blade warming against his ribs. Caesar has spun. His left hand grips Casca's wrist. His mouth is open. The words, mid-formation. Ista quidem vis est. Why? This is violence. Step around the circle. Gaius Cassius Longdinus. 42. Lean face, deep-set eyes, a veteran's bearing even in a senator's toga. His dagger is drawn, his arm coming forward. He built this. Months of recruitment, secret meetings, coded conversations, testing loyalties one senator at a time. Cassius fought at Carrhae in 53 BC, the catastrophe where Crassus led 7 legions into the Parthian desert and lost them all. 20,000 dead, their commander decapitated. Cassius survived by organizing the retreat, saving 10,000 men from annihilation. He has seen the Republic at its worst, and concluded that Caesar is worse still. Count the others. At least 20 men pressing forward, togas thrown back, blades at different stages. Bucolianus, Rubrius Ruga, Sextius Naso, Pontius Aquila. Names that survived in fragments, in case lists, in the margins of histories. Their daggers did not care about fame. Pick up a fallen pugio from the marble, dropped in the press. The blade still clean, unused. The leather grip is sweat damp. Light for a sword, heavy for a knife. Designed for the distance between two bodies pressed chest to chest. Where is Brutus? Step back. Look at the full circle from the edge of the room. 23 men surrounding one, their weapons frozen at every stage of deployment. some still concealed beneath wool, half-drawn, the metal catching fabric, some mid-arc, the blades bright in lamplight, some fully extended, tips angled inward at the centre, some already dark with blood. The geometry of assassination, a ring of steel converging on a single point, each man positioned to cover a different angle, blocking escape routes with their bodies, ensuring the target cannot break through. At the centre, Caesar, half-turned, one hand locked on Casca's wrist, the other reaching toward nothing, blood on his neck, his purple toga half torn from his body, the garment pooling over one shoulder. 55 years old, veteran of Gaul and Egypt and Spain and Pharsalus, and the circle is nearly closed. The first blood hangs in the air, a fine spray from the neck wound, individual droplets suspended between his skin and Casca's retreating blade. Dark spheres, each one a tiny mirror, each one catching the lamplight, hanging in the space between one man's body and another man's weapon. The physician Antistius will examine the corpse tonight and count 23 wounds. Only one will be fatal. A thrust between the ribs, the second blow into the chest cavity. The other 22 are cuts and slashes, the result of too many daggers in too small a space, conspirators wounding each other in the press of bodies. The arithmetic of murder, imprecise and chaotic. Push between the frozen shoulders. Their togas are rough against your arms. Step over a sandal knocked loose in the scrum. The marble underfoot is slick. The statue rises 10 feet from a marble pedestal at the far end of the chamber. Gnaeus Pompeius Magnus, Pompey the Great, carved in military dress, right arm extended in the gesture of a triumphant general addressing his troops. The marble is white, the features idealized, the expression serene. Touch the base, cold stone, the inscription carved deep. Feel the letters under your fingertips. Pompeius, Pompey. Caesar and Pompey were allies once, the first triumvirate, 60 BC, with Crassus making 3. They married into each other's families. Caesar's daughter Julia married Pompey, binding the alliance with blood. When Julia died in childbirth in 54 BC, the bond died with her. Civil war, Pharsalus, flight, Egypt, a head in a jar. Caesar reportedly wept when they brought it to him. Now the statue looks down, and the man who wept is bleeding at its feet. Crouch at the base. Caesar's hand is behind him, fingers pressing into the carved stone, steadying himself against the pedestal. Trace the handprints in blood on the marble, 3 of them, each lower than the last, each weaker than the one before. He staggered here from the center of the room and tried to grip the stone. His fingers found Pompey's inscription and slid. Pull the edge of his toga. Heavy, near the neck, the purple dye darkening to black where it has soaked through, the wool thickened with blood into something that no longer drapes, but hangs. Lean close to his face. 55 years old. Thin hair, high forehead, the face stamped on every coin in Rome, the face that launched 1,000 marble busts. In this light, from this angle, the expression is mid-change. Shock giving way to something older and quieter. Recognition, perhaps. The look of a man who was warned 3 separate times by 3 separate people and came anyway. Some accounts say he said nothing at the end. Others say he saw Brutus among the daggers and spoke in Greek. Kaisou teknion? And you, child. Then he pulled the toga over his face. A Roman death, hide your dying from the world. One man stands slightly back from the circle, Marcus Junius Brutus, 41, praetor of Rome. His dagger is drawn, but his arm is at his side. He has not yet struck. He will be among the last, coming forward when Caesar is already falling. Examine his right hand, blood on it. Not Caesar's, his own. During the attack, another conspirator's blade will catch Brutus across the palm. The man who kills the tyrant, wounded by his own side. Brutus owes Caesar everything. Pardoned after Pharsalus, when he fought against Caesar and lost. Promoted, trusted. Caesar said to his officers, "Find Brutus, bring him safe." The reward for that mercy, a pugio between the ribs. The rumour is old and persistent. Caesar had an affair with Servilia, Brutus's mother, decades ago. Some say Brutus is Caesar's biological son. Kai su, teknon, and you, child, may be literal. The question of what Caesar saw in Brutus's face, in that last moment, has occupied historians for 2,000 years. The face is here, frozen, and it does not answer. What did he see? A small terracotta oil lamp sits on the pedestal's edge. Pick it up. The flame frozen. A wick in olive oil. The simplest technology. This lamp lit Caesar's reading of petitions this morning. It lights his body now. The same steady flame for both. The wooden benches curve in their semicircle. 3 tiers rising, 200 men in white togas. Climb to the second tier. A senator beside you has one knee still on the bench, the other foot finding the floor, his hands gripping the bench edge, his toga caught beneath him. Touch his shoulder. The wool is damp with sweat. His mouth is opening. The first syllable of a shout that will never finish building in his throat. The exits are behind the conspirators. The benches face the curule chair. Every unarmed senator is facing the killing, and the killers stand between them and every door. Third tier, center. Sit beside Marcus Tullius Cicero, 61 years old. The greatest orator the Roman world ever produced. The man whose speeches defined the Latin language, whose legal arguments shaped the Republic's final decades. His hands grip the armrests of his bench, knuckles pale against dark wood, the body rigid, the posture of someone who has just understood something terrible and is holding himself still by force of will. They did not tell him. The conspirators kept Cicero out of the plot. He would have insisted on constitutional process, on Senate votes, on legal justification. They wanted daggers, not arguments. He will write later, with the precision of a man who admires the courage and despises the planning. The deed was done with the courage of men, but the planning of children. He is watching the courage. He will spend months discovering the planning. Pick up a wax tablet from the bench beside him. Beeswax surface, a bronze stylus resting in the groove. Half-written notes. A senator's shorthand. The agenda for today's session. Grain requisitions for the Parthian campaign. Caesar planned to leave Rome on March 18th, 3 days from this morning, to conquer the east. 16 legions staged at the frontier. 10,000 cavalry at Antioch. Supply depots mapped. Routes plotted. The largest military operation since Alexander the Great. Run the stylus across the wax. Feel the smooth give of warm beeswax, the slight resistance of a surface designed to record the business of governing the Mediterranean world. The senator who was writing this will never finish the sentence. The campaign these notes describe will never happen. 23 daggers cancelled the greatest military operation in Roman history. Descend the benches, 1 tier at a time, senators frozen on either side, their robes brushing your arms, their faces turned toward the commotion at the front, some comprehending, some still blank, with the lag between sight and understanding. The light from the entrance grows stronger ahead. The steps are wide marble, descending to the street. Senators mid-flight, togas gathered in fists, lifted clear of running legs, the heavy wool bunched at the hip. The undignified exit of Rome's most dignified men. Some have fallen. A senator kneels on the third step, one sandal gone, his face blank, the expression of a man whose legs stopped before his mind caught up. A sandal on the fourth step. Pick it up. Leather, well made, the straps snapped mid-stride, the sole worn smooth on the left heel, a man who walks with a slight list, years of forum paving, wearing the same path into the same leather. Inside, a maker's mark stamped into the sole, a Subura cobbler's shop, still warm from the foot that left it. The senator who wore this ran so fast his shoe broke. The Republic's senators, fleeing barefoot. A bread seller's cart at the bottom of the steps, round loaves stacked on a board, scored on top in the Roman fashion, flour dusted. The vendor's face turned toward the running senators, not yet understanding, the expression of a man watching something unusual that has not yet become something frightening. Beside the cart, a woman carrying an amphora of water from the fountain, frozen mid-step. The water tilted inside the amphora, its surface caught at the angle of her stride, slanted but not spilling. A child beside her, hand in hers, looking up at the running men. The generation that'll grow up under emperors. They do not know it yet. Turn back, face the entrance to the Curia. Through the doorway, the dim interior, the lamps, the shape of the circle still visible at the far end. Press your palm against the doorframe. The stone holds nearly 5 centuries of debate. It survived Hannibal at the gates, Sulla's dictatorship, 100 lesser crises. It did not survive this morning. The 60 men who entered this building with daggers beneath their togas believed they were saving the Republic. They guaranteed its destruction. The taste of copper fades from your tongue. Something shifts in your inner ear. The marble floor tilts, the columns lean at angles that cannot be architectural, and gravity reconsiders its obligations. The blood recedes, not drying, retreating, flowing backward across the marble tiles, unpooling, the rivulets in the grout lines reversing their direction, the dark stain shrinking toward the center of the room. Daggers withdraw from flesh. The circle unravels. Men walk backward from the body, their arms retracting, their blades sheathing themselves beneath closing togas. Caesar rises from the base of the statue, his wounds sealing, his toga resettling on his shoulder, his face composing itself from death back into authority. Night and day strobe above you. The compluvium flickers between sun and stars. Senators walk backward through the forum in accelerating crowds. The moon cycles in reverse, full, waning, half, crescent, gone. The calendar strips away. March 14th, March 10th, March 1st, February. The city empties and fills in rhythm with its own daily breathing, sped to a blur. Lamplight through a garden wall, the smell of fig trees and conspiracy, low voices on the night air. Evening, late February, 44 BC. A private garden on the Palatine Hill. The moment locks, a walled garden on the Palatine Hill. Stone walls, 7 feet high, the mortar crumbling at the joints. old enough to have settled into permanence, high enough to block sight from the street beyond. Press your ear against the stone. On the other side, footsteps, a cart's wheels on paving, a vendor's distant call. Ordinary Rome, 10 inches from conspiracy. Fig trees overhead, their branches dark against a clear February night. The fruit overripe. One fig split on the ground beside a fountain, purple-fleshed, the seeds exposed. Nobody picked it. The conversation was more important than the garden. Oil lamps on iron stands, 4 of them, arranged to light the center and leave the walls in shadow. A small fountain at the heart of the garden. Water from a bronze lion's mouth, frozen mid-pour. Touch the lion's muzzle. The metal is warm from the afternoon sun it has not yet lost. The water a solid tongue emerging from the teeth. Green patina, where water meets bronze. Years of mineral deposits, years of meetings beside this fountain. The taller figure stands beside the water. Gaius Cassius Longinus, 42. Lean, sharp-featured, deep-set eyes that catch lamplight and hold it. A general's posture even in a garden, the bearing of a man accustomed to being obeyed. His right hand is extended toward the man facing him, palm up. The gesture of offering. Not a gift, a burden. The veteran of Carrhae, the man who pulled 10,000 soldiers out of that desert after Crassus lost everything. His skull ended up as a prop in a Parthian court play. Cassius knows what Rome looks like when its leaders fail. A papyrus lies on the stone table. Pick it up. Cassius's handwriting, small, controlled, the careful script of a man who plans well. Names in 2 columns. The left, confirmed. The right, approached, not yet committed. Run your finger down the confirmed list. Senators, praetors, former consuls, Casca, Cimber, Trebonius. 3 names are crossed out. Men who were approached and refused. They did not report the conspiracy to Caesar. In Roman politics, knowing about a plot and staying silent carries its own weight. The list is growing. 60 men will eventually commit. The largest conspiracy in Roman history, and not one will inform. Marcus Junius Brutus stands with his arms folded. The posture of a man still weighing, or already decided, and resisting the knowledge. 41. The features of an intellectual, not a soldier. The face of a man who reads Plato before breakfast. But the jaw is set. His ancestor, the original Lucius Junius Brutus, expelled Rome's last king in 509 BC. Every Roman schoolchild knows the name. If this Brutus says yes, the conspiracy becomes a liberation. Without him, it is a grudge killing by sidelined politicians. 5 years. From the Rubicon crossing in 49 BC to Dictator Perpetuo in February 44. 1 month before this night. The constitutional office designed for 6-month emergencies became permanent. The conspirators were not wrong that something essential had broken. They were wrong about the tool that could repair it. Brutus's private study. Scroll cases line the walls from floor to ceiling, cedar-oiled, each one labelled in a scholar's neat hand. The room smells of papyrus and preservation, the atmosphere of a man who lives among documents. A bronze lamp on the writing desk throws warm amber light across ink-stained armrests and a surface covered in correspondence. A pile of letters on the desk. Pick up the nearest, different handwriting from the one below it, deliberately varied. Brutus, thou sleepest, awake. The next, you are no true Brutus. A third, your ancestor would weep. Turn one over, a wax seal on the back, press your thumbnail into the wax. Cassius's seal, poorly disguised, the same press used at a slight angle to alter the impression. Cassius forged these, every one of them manufactured to look like public demand, pushed under Brutus's door, left on his praetor's bench in the forum, scratched onto walls near his house. The message manufactured, the consent fabricated. Brutus may know they are forged. The argument they carry matters more than the hand that wrote it. On the highest shelf, a bronze bust. Lifted, heavy, the bronze cool, the face stern and idealized. Lucius Junius Brutus, founder of the Republic, the man who expelled Rome's last king 465 years ago. The original Brutus executed his own sons when they conspired to restore the monarchy. The weight of this name, a family obligation older than most nations, cast in metal and placed on the highest shelf where it cannot be ignored. Open on the desk, a scroll of Plato, the Republic, the section on the tyrant. The visible passage argues that tyranny is the worst form of government, that the tyrant begins as the people's protector and ends as their enslaver. Notes in Brutus's hand crowd the margins. Small annotations, the Greek glossed in Latin, the passage studied and restudied. A philosopher building a case for murder, one annotation at a time. No windows, one door. The bolt drawn, iron-reinforced oak, the simple mechanism that separates treason from discovery. Slide the bolt with your hand. Feel the weight. One plank between 60 conspirators and execution under Roman law. Oil lamps on bronze stands. The smoke hangs in a layer near the ceiling, the light golden and uneven. Couches on 3 sides of a low table. The triclinium arrangement. Dinner couches repurposed for conspiracy. Food on silver platters, olives, bread, roasted lamb, untouched. Wine cups full. Nobody has eaten. The conversation has killed every appetite in the room. A dozen men on the couches, some lean forward, intent, the posture of commitment. Others sit back, arms folded, the stillness of men who have already decided and are waiting for everyone else to catch up. One man's hand trembles around his wine cup, the ceramic vibrating against his fingertips, the wine surface shivering. Decimus Junius Brutus Albinus reclines at the far end, his face the calmest in the room. He ate at Caesar's table last week. He will eat there again the night before the killing. Caesar named him in his will. He commands Caesar's gladiators. The deepest betrayal in the room wears the quietest expression. Step back to the doorway. Look at the full table. 12 faces lit from below by oil lamps, cheekbones bright, eye sockets dark, every feature thrown into exaggerated relief. Behind each man, cast on the plaster walls, a shadow 10 feet tall, distorted, enormous. Shadow men holding shadow daggers that do not yet exist in metal, but are already real in intention. The lamplight catches 12 pairs of eyes, some bright with conviction, some dark with uncertainty, every one of them fixed on the same point. Brutus, who has not yet spoken. Cassius's hand is extended again, the same palm-up gesture from the garden, repeated here in front of witnesses. The leadership of the conspiracy offered to the one man whose name transforms it. If Brutus declines, these men walk home, and the conspiracy dissolves like smoke from the lamps. Caesar lives. Everything balances on a philosopher's next word. A Puccio lies on the table between the wine cups. Pick it up. Wide blade, leaf-shaped, double-edged, iron, not bronze. Military grade, 8 inches of killing edge. Turn it. The grip is leather-wrapped, shaped for a closed fist. Lighter than a sword, heavier than a dining knife. built for the intimate distance between two bodies in combat. Every man in this room served in the legions. They know what this blade does to flesh. Carrying Pugiones into the Senate was itself an argument. What Caesar had done to the Republic was an act of war, and war required soldiers' tools. Rome had a long history of political violence. The Gracchi brothers beaten to death, Saturninus stoned in the Senate house. But concealed military weapons brought into the chamber of law by senators for a coordinated assassination. This was new. A woman sits on the edge of a bed. Her left hand presses linen against her thigh. The linen is stained through. A dark bloom soaked through white fabric crouch beside her. Portia, daughter of Cato the Younger, wife of Marcus Brutus. Her face is composed, the steady expression of someone managing pain by will rather than medicine. Her father killed himself at Utica in 46 BC, rather than live under Caesar's rule, disemboweled himself with a sword, and when a physician sewed the wound closed, tore it open again with his own hands. Portia carries that determination in her blood. Pull back the edge of the bandage, gently. A stab wound, self-inflicted, positioned to bleed heavily but miss the femoral artery. Deliberate, controlled, the wound of someone who understands anatomy. The knife on the bedside table. Small, domestic, a fruit knife or a surgeon's blade. Pick it up. Blood dried along the edge. She stabbed herself to prove she could bear pain and keep a secret. She showed Brutus the wound and said, "If I can endure this, I can endure your truth," Brutus told her. She is one of perhaps 3 women in Rome who know that Caesar will die. After the assassination, she will support Brutus through the civil war. When he falls at Philippi in 42 BC, she will kill herself. One account says she swallowed hot coals. Look up at Brutus. Standing before her, hands at his sides, not reaching for the wound, not turning away. His expression caught in the lamplight. A man watching his wife demonstrate she is braver than he is. Behind Portia, on the shelf, a portrait bust of Cato. Her father's face, staring past Brutus with the fixed conviction of a man who chose death over tyranny. Portia bleeds for the conspiracy. Cato died for the Republic. Brutus must decide if he can match them. The Forum Romanum in daylight, open to the sky, flanked by temples and basilicas, the political heart of Rome for 5 centuries. Step onto the worn paving stones, black basalt of the Via Sacra, polished by 1,000,000 sandals. Vendors on either side, roasted chickpeas in bronze pans, honey cakes, a man selling hot wine from a clay jug. The temple of Castor and Pollux rises ahead, 3 Corinthian columns, impossibly tall. The steps crowded with citizens conducting the daily business of being Roman. Senators in white togas move through the forum, greeting clients, consulting with lawyers, the rhythms of political life uninterrupted and ordinary. Among them, conspirators. Casca adjusts his toga at the shoulder, the same shoulder that hides a dagger harness sewn into the lining. Touch his shoulder as he passes. Feel the hard edge beneath the wool. The pugio's hilt, pressing through the fabric, warm from his body. Trebonius consults with a client 10 paces away. The same voice that will keep Antony outside the Curia, chatting about supply routes while the daggers find their target. A gilded statue at the forum's edge, Caesar in triumphal garb, laurel wreath, right arm raised, fresh garlands at the base. No living Roman has appeared on coins or stood as a statue among the gods before this. graffiti scratched into the base. Rex, King, one word, the charge that justifies everything. Grip the wooden rail of the rostra, the speaker's platform, decorated with the bronze prows of captured warships, worn smooth by generations of orators' hands. Cicero stood here. Cato stood here. In less than a month, Brutus will stand here and explain to the Roman people why he killed their dictator. Antony will stand here the next day and destroy that explanation. The forum noise drops away. Silence replaces it, not gradually, but in a single cut, as if someone pressed a hand over the mouth of the city. Your ears pop. The air thickens, the sky darkens overhead, clouds covering the stars in fast motion. February becomes March. The calendar advances, days flickering past like pages in a book riffled by wind. March 1st, March 5th, March 10th, March 14th. Night falls, a flash of lightning, the smell of rain on stone, a woman's breathing, fast, frightened, the rhythm of a nightmare pushing through sleep. 3 in the morning, March 15th, 44 BC. Caesar's domus. Storm. The moment locks. The room is lit in blue-white, lightning through open doors, every surface sharp and shadowless, the colours stripped to monochrome, the world reduced to light and the absence of it. A woman sits upright in bed. Calpurnia. Mid-scream, her mouth open, the tendons in her neck taut as bowstrings, her hand reaching for the man beside her. The distance between her fingers and his shoulder. 2 inches of air. The distance between the dream and the waking world. Step to the bedside. The linen covers thrown back, the mattress wool-stuffed, the pillow damp. Not from rain, but from hours of restless sleep, the sweating and turning of a mind trapped in bad visions. Calpurnia, Caesar's 3rd wife, mid-40s, daughter of a senator. She has no children with Caesar. Her only pregnancy miscarried. What she has is a dream that has woken her screaming. Plutarch will record that she dreamed she held Caesar's murdered body in her arms. Suetonius will record that she dreamed the pediment of their house collapsed. Both versions may be true. Dreams do not observe the constraints of a single historian. Caesar beside her. 55, turning in half sleep, one arm lifting from the covers. Examine his face. Thin hair, the lined forehead, the features of a man whose face has been stamped on more coins than any living Roman before him. Relaxed in sleep, unguarded, younger looking than the marble portraits suggest. His body beneath the linen carries the scars of 40 years of warfare. Gaul, Spain, Egypt, Africa, the civil war that made him master of the world. He suffers from epilepsy, the sacred disease, the Romans called it. Seizures in public, the body betraying the mind. The most powerful man on earth, brought to his knees at unpredictable intervals by his own brain. On the bedside table, his signet ring. Pick it up. Heavy gold, warm from the lamp beside it. The engraved seal catches the lightning's flash, the Julian star, the family emblem. This ring seals every decree in Rome. Laws, appointments, death warrants, pardons, military commands. Turn it. The weight of absolute power, the size of a thumbnail. After his death, Mark Antony will prize this ring from the body and use it to forge documents, spending the treasury, issuing false orders in Caesar's name, wielding a dead man's authority through a stolen seal. Feel the heft of it in your palm. In 3 days, this ring seals nothing. The bedroom doors hang open, blown wide by the storm. Rain hangs in a curtain of suspended drops between the doorframe, each one frozen mid-flight. The wind that carried them also stopped. A puddle sits on the mosaic floor, the tiles depicting dolphins and waves, a marine scene. Water on the marine floor, the house rhyming with itself. Step through the doorway, wind on your face, cold March air, heavy with the smell of rain on stone. The peristyle opens before you. The garden courtyard, columns on all sides, the herbs between them bent under wind that no longer moves. Rosemary, thyme, basil, their leaves caught mid-whip. Rain hangs in the air. Millions of drops suspended, each one a tiny lens holding a miniature image of the lightning. Walk through them. They do not move. They do not wet your skin. They hang like a beaded curtain between the columns. Look up. Through the compluvium, the rectangular opening in the roof, the sky. A lightning bolt frozen mid-strike above Rome. The main trunk splits into 5, 10, 20 forks, each branch a different thickness, a different brightness. The thickest, blue-white, electric, blinding even in stillness. The thinnest, violet, almost invisible. The capillaries of an electrical tree spreading across the underside of the clouds. The bolt illuminates the city. In the flash, the rooftops are visible beyond the garden walls. Temple pediments, the crowded peaks of insulae, the dark mass of the Palatine Hill. All of Rome stopped in one crack of light. The rain around the bolt catches the electric glow, each drop a blue-white star, a galaxy of tiny lenses suspended between the clouds and the ground. Below, the ornamental pool reflects the bolt in perfect inversion, the lightning tree growing downward into black water, every fork mirrored. A single raindrop hangs a finger's width above the surface. Beneath it, the splash ring just forming, concentric circles expanding outward from a center that has not yet been struck. The moment between the drop and its impact, held. Press your hand against the nearest column. The stone vibrates, or seems to. The low-frequency hum of thunder that cannot finish its sentence, trapped in the marble, like a voice caught mid-word. Romans read the sky as text. Thunder is Jupiter speaking. Lightning is divine warning. A storm like this, on this night, is a message. Under the colonnade, a stray cat. Dry, sitting on warm flagstones, its eyes reflecting the lightning flash. 2 green discs in the dark. Touch its fur. Warm, dry, vibrating with a purr that cannot complete its cycle. The animal does not care about omens, or dictators, or daggers. It has found a dry spot and is content. In the morning, the household will begin the last normal day of the Roman Republic. The cat will still be here. The dining room, 3 couches around a low table of polished wood. The remains of last evening's dinner still on the platters. Olives darkening in oil, bread stiffening, fish in garum sauce congealing. Press your finger into the bread. Stale, the crust cracking, hours old. The slaves have not cleared because the household was thrown into chaos by the storm, by Calpurnia's screams. 2 cups close together at the head of the table. Pick up the nearest. Red glazed ceramic, wine residue at the bottom, a lip print on the rim. The guest who sat here, Decimus Junius Brutus Albinus, Caesar's trusted friend. The man who will return tomorrow morning to convince Caesar to go to the Senate. Decimus drank with Caesar last night, ate his food, reclined beside him. He knew what waited. He went home, slept, and came back. The second cup, Caesar's. Pick it up. The wine residue darker, less diluted. He was distracted, drinking without adding water, reading correspondence while his guests talked. Someone asked, "What is the best kind of death?" Roman dinner party philosophy, the kind of question intellectuals debate over the third cup. Each guest answered. Caesar, not looking up from his letters, said, "Repentinam inopinatamque," a sudden one, an unexpected one. The words hang in this room. A man who will die suddenly and unexpectedly in 12 hours, naming his own death over dinner, and not even pausing his reading to say it. Hold the cup for a moment, the lip print on the rim, the last wine he drank in this house. A small amphora on the table. Pick it up. The stopper is out. Garum, fermented fish sauce, produced in factories across the Mediterranean, Spain, North Africa, the Greek islands. The taste of empire in a condiment. Caesar standardized the trade regulations that make this bottle possible. The man who reorganized commerce, the calendar, and the constitution. Scrolls on the dining couch. Caesar's correspondence, read while eating. Pick one up. A military report from the Eastern legions. The Parthian campaign preparations. 16 legions, 10,000 cavalry. He leaves March 18th, 3 days. The conspirators know this. If Caesar reaches his legions, he is beyond the reach of any senatorial dagger. Scroll cases from floor to ceiling, cedar-oiled, labelled in Caesar's hand. The writing desk, solid oak, ink-stained. A bronze lamp casting a wide circle of warm light. The room of a mind that never stops working. Pull a scroll case from the shelf. Inside, calculations. Caesar reformed the Roman calendar in 46 BC, replacing a system so corrupted by political manipulation that the months no longer matched their seasons. He consulted the Alexandrian astronomer Sosigenes, and implemented a solar calendar of 365 days with a leap year every 4. The Julian calendar would remain Europe's standard until 1582. The map on the wall. Hold the lamp close, papyrus large, carefully drawn, trace the route, red ink lines from Rome to Brundisium, across the Adriatic to Apollonia, east through Macedonia, across Asia Minor to the Euphrates, 1,100 miles from this desk to that river. Supply depots marked at each crossing. Apollonia, Thessalonica, Amphipolis, Philippi. The logistics of feeding an army in motion, planned down to the day. Run your finger along the Euphrates, the river at the far edge of Rome's reach. Caesar intended to cross it. He will never leave his own city. A sealed scroll in a wooden case. Caesar's will. Lift the case, heavy. The wax seal stamped with the Julian star, firm, unbroken. Inside, the document naming Gaius Octavius as adopted son and primary heir. Octavian, 18 years old, in Apollonia studying rhetoric. Sickly, slight, unremarkable. Not a single person in Rome considers him a serious political force. He will become Augustus. He will rule for 40 years. He will turn the Republic into an empire so gradually that many Romans barely notice the transition. The most consequential document in Roman history sits in a wooden case that nobody is looking at. A stone niche near the atrium, the household shrine. 2 bronze Lars figurines, dancing, arms raised. Touch the nearest. Cool bronze, the size of your hand. The dancer's tunic, the lifted foot, the garland detailed in miniature. Fresh offerings, a cup of wine, a handful of grain, a garland of flowers beginning to wilt. Calpurnia's work, placed when the bad dreams began. A bronze knife beside the shrine. pick it up. Small, ceremonial, the blade clean and sharp. This knife kills doves and pigeons for household offerings. In the morning, Caesar will order the augurs to sacrifice a larger animal. The haruspex will open it and find no heart. An omen so terrible the priests will beg him to stay home. Caesar will waver. He will decide to stay. Then Decimus will arrive, smiling, reassuring, and the daggers in the Senate will do what this ceremonial blade never could. Step back into the atrium. Rain sits in the impluvium pool, black water, still, reflecting the frozen lightning through the open roof above. Somewhere in this house, Calpurnia is screaming from a dream. Somewhere, Caesar is turning toward her. The storm holds without moving. The gods send their warnings through every channel available to them. Dreams, entrails, thunder, birds, fire. In 7 hours, Caesar will walk out the door. This is the last time the house is whole. Warmth spreads across your face. The cold of 3 a.m. lifts, replaced by sunlight, gradual at first, then fast, the dawn compressing into seconds. The lightning retracts into its cloud. The rain rises from the ground, the puddles evaporating upward, each drop climbing back into the sky. Darkness peels away from Rome. The sun climbs the eastern horizon in a single, smooth arc. Fast, unnatural. The accelerated dawn of 7 hours compressed into a breath. Servants move through the house at speed, doors opening and closing, voices, the blur of domestic preparation. A man arrives at the vestibulum. His smile is visible even at this speed. 10:30 in the morning, March 15th, 44 BC. Caesar's vestibulum. The moment locks. Morning light fills the entrance hall. The storm is gone, scrubbed clean from the sky, leaving marble bright and the air sharp with the smell of wet stone drying in sun. The vestibulum floor holds the faintest film of rainwater from last night, its edges thinning where the morning sun has reached the stone, the last evidence of the weather that terrified Calpurnia. Caesar stands at the threshold. The toga praetexta sits heavy on his shoulders, freshly draped, the purple border vivid against white wool, the fabric arranged with care by hands that belong to a slave standing 2 steps behind. He decided to stay home. The haruspex found no heart in the morning's sacrifice. Calpurnia begged. He sent word to Antony the session would be postponed. Then Decimus arrived. Look at Caesar's shoulders. The set of them is not quite right. A residual tension. The posture of a man whose body remembers the decision his mind has overridden. He is going. But the muscles have not entirely agreed. Decimus Junius Brutus Albinus stands beside him, one hand resting on Caesar's arm. The touch is light, familiar, the casual contact of a man who has spent years earning the right to that proximity. His smile catches the morning light, warm, easy, rehearsed in the dark hours between midnight and dawn. He told Caesar. The Senate would think him ruled by his wife's nightmares. He told Caesar. They are preparing to offer you the crown in the provinces. He told Caesar. Come. Each argument precise, calibrated, the gentle pressure of a friend who knows which words fit, which locks. His betrayal is not the philosophical conviction that drives Brutus. It is intimate, the knife from the hand that held your arm. In a year, Decimus will be hunted through Gaul by Antony's agents, abandoned by his own troops, captured by a tribal chieftain, and beheaded. The man who led Caesar to his death will die alone in a country that is not his own. The golden fibula, picket from the slave's hands, a toga pin, the clasp that holds the wool at the left shoulder, heavy gold, the spring mechanism clean. Open it, close it, feel the snap of the catch against your thumb. In less than an hour, Tilius Simba will seize that shoulder and pull the fabric free. The slave who holds the fibula now is fastening it with careful, devoted hands. He does not know. Behind them, in the atrium doorway, Calpurnia. Her face is visible from here. She is not crying. She has already done both, the weeping and the argument, and been overruled by a friend's smile. Her face is emptied of argument, past begging, past tears. Grip the doorframe beside her hand. Her fingers press into the wood, the knuckles white, the tendons visible. She cannot stop this. She dreamed his blood. She cited the omens. She told him the augurs opened the sacrifice and found the chest cavity empty. He is walking out the door. She will not see him alive again. Step past Caesar, through the vestibulum, down the worn steps to the street. The litter-bearers rise from their haunches. The morning crowd parts. The walk begins. The Via Sacra. Black basalt paving stones, their surfaces polished by 1,000,000 sandals into a dark mirror that catches the morning sun. The most sacred road in the world runs through the forum toward the temples, and today it carries a dead man who does not know it yet. The crowd is packed solid on both sides, shoulders, elbows, the compressed mass of a city that holds 1,000,000 people within walls, built for a quarter of that number. Caesar's litter sits mid-procession, carried by 4 slaves whose muscles strain against the poles. Lean close to a vendor's cart. A man selling roasted chickpeas from a bronze pan, the smell of charcoal and legumes in the warm air. His face, the bland attention of commerce. His world extends to the edge of his pan. The crowd that will mourn Caesar in 5 days, that will build his funeral pyre in the forum and attack the conspirators' houses with torches, is buying bread and eating lunch. A figure at the edge of the street. Older, grey-haired, the robes of an Etruscan haruspex hanging loose on a thin frame. Spurina, crouch beside him. His face is turned towards the litter, watching Caesar pass with the expression of a man who predicted this and was dismissed for it. Caesar saw him. From the litter, the dictator's voice, "The Ides of March have come." The tone of a man proving a soothsayer wrong. Spurina's reply hangs between them in the stopped air. "Aye, Caesar, but not yet gone." 5 words. The day is not over. The most precise warning in Roman history, delivered to a man who hears it and keeps moving. Examine Spurina's hands, the stained fingers of a man who reads animal entrails for a living, who handles the organs of sacrificed bulls and reads the future in the pattern of veins. These hands held the future in their palms. Nobody listened. A public inscription on the wall of a basilica. Carved stone, deep letters. A new calendar. Run your finger along the surface. Martives. March. The month named for Mars, god of war. IDVS. Martiae. The Ides. The 15th day, marked as a festival in honor of Anna Perenna, goddess of the year's cycle. Caesar reformed this calendar, brought order to a system so corrupted by political manipulation that winter fell in autumn and spring arrived in summer. The irony sits in the stone. The date that bears his reform will bear his blood forever. The walls along the route are covered in scratched messages. Run your fingers along the plaster. Caesar Rex carved deep, the letters angular and furious. Beside it, in a different hand, Caesar Imperator, reverent, the letters careful. The city arguing with itself on its own walls, one plaster surface holding both the accusation and the defense. Near a tavern, a crude drawing of a laurel wreath with a crown above it, the charge in pictogram. Someone believes Caesar wants to be king. Someone else has scratched it out. The argument continues in graffiti because it cannot continue in the Senate. The theatre of Pompeii ahead, its columns rising above the roofline. The litter is angled toward the entrance, the last stretch. The theatre rises ahead, columns, limestone, the scale of a public monument built by a man who wanted Rome to remember his name. Steps lead up to the portico, broad and white in the morning sun. Senators in white togas climb the steps, among them conspirators. Two exchange a glance as they pass on the stairs, the briefest flicker of eye contact. So fast it could be nothing, so weighted it could be everything. Recognition, confirmation, the signal that says, today, now, he is coming. Each conspirator carries a pugio beneath his toga, the dagger sewn into a harness against the ribs. 60 men and 1,000,000 lies. Every senator who enters the Curia this morning carries a secret, either the conspiracy or the ignorance that mirrors it. Caesar's litter stops at the base. He prepares to descend. Petitioners press forward. It is normal for citizens to approach the dictator with requests, scrolls extended, voices raised. A man mid-lunge at the edge of the crowd. Press beside him. Feel the pressure of bodies, the heat of a Roman crowd at close quarters. Artemidorus, the scroll you read on the portico floor. He is trying to deliver it. His hand extends above the crowd, the papyrus creased in a white-knuckled grip, reaching for the litter. Caesar's hand reaches back, open, receiving petitions, a dozen scrolls thrust at him from every direction. Other petitioners push their papers forward at the same moment. The one scroll that names every assassin, competing with grain permits and tax complaints. Step back from the press of bodies. Rise above the crowd. Stand on the theatre steps. Look down. The street is packed solid. Hundreds of bodies mid-step, mid-turn, mid-conversation. Arms extended with petition scrolls. Faces turned toward the litter. The litter sits above them. 4 slaves, muscles locked under the weight, the curtains parted. Caesar is visible, half standing, one hand reaching out to receive a document, and through the press of shoulders and heads, one arm reaching further than the rest. Artemidorus's fingers stretching past bodies, almost touching the litter's edge, the distance between his fingertips and Caesar's hand. Inches. Look at the litter one more time. The slaves have lowered it to the ground, waiting for Caesar to descend. His hands rest on the frame. He almost stayed. The haruspex found no heart. Calpurnia begged. Then Decimus arrived. The door opened. Decimus smiled. Caesar put on his toga. The litter was prepared. The columned entrance, limestone capitals in the Corinthian style, their acanthus leaves casting small, sharp shadows in the morning light. The shade is cool after the street's glare. Men file past, leather sandals on marble, the shuffle of a political session beginning. Some carry scrolls, some carry tablets, some carry daggers. At the left column, 2 men in conversation. Gaius Trebonius leans against the stone, his posture casual, his face arranged in the expression of someone discussing supply routes for the Eastern campaign. His jaw is tight beneath the easy smile. The casual posture is a performance. The ease in his voice costs him everything below the collar. Trebonius served under Caesar in Gaul. Years of shared campaigns, shared winters. The trust that forms between officers who have bled in the same wars. He is using that trust to hold Mark Antony in place, while his colleagues prepare a murder inside. Antony faces him, Marcus Antonius, his back to the entrance. He cannot see inside. He cannot hear the circle forming around the coral chair. The strongest man in Rome, positioned with precision where he cannot intervene. Look at his hands. Large, a soldier's hands. The grip of a man who has held a gladius in close combat. These hands could have changed everything. Antony in the Senate chamber, fighting, warning, rallying 200 senators. The assassination might have failed. The conspirators debated killing him. Cassius argued for it. Remove every threat. Brutus said no. We kill the tyrant, not his friends. The principle that spares Antony is the principle that dooms the conspiracy. Past them, through the entrance, into the theatre's interior. The light dims. The corridor ahead leads to the Curia. Caesar's footsteps echo behind you. Marble floor, press your palm flat against it. Cold, the particular cold of stone in a building where no sunlight reaches. Plaster walls painted in Roman red. The deep terracotta that lines every public building in the city. Busts on pedestals line both sides of the corridor, the marble faces of dead senators watching from their niches. Grip the nearest pedestal's edge. The stone is cool, the features worn smooth by generations of senators touching the face for luck as they pass. Run your thumb across the brow, the bridge of the nose. Blank eyes. A man who served and surrendered power. The tradition Caesar broke. A small altar stands at the entrance to the Curia, a shallow bronze bowl holding blood from the morning's ritual sacrifice. Dip your finger. Cold. Animal blood from the bull sacrificed to open the session. The haruspex examined the entrails and found nothing unusual. This sacrifice, at least, was clean. Lift the bowl. Light, bronze, well used, the rim dark with years of offerings. Animal blood on the altar, human blood on the floor in an hour. Caesar is behind you in the corridor, his sandals on marble, the steady pace of a man who does not hurry. He dismissed his Spanish bodyguard months ago, the political gesture of a leader who does not wish to appear a tyrant. His lictors wait outside by senatorial custom. No armed men in the Senate chamber. The protocol that 60 conspirators are about to violate. Walk the corridor slowly. Touch the busts as you pass. Face after face, the marble record of Rome's constitutional history. Consuls who served 1 year and resigned. Dictators who served 6 months and returned to their farms. Cincinnatus, who saved Rome from invasion and went back to his plough. Each face a record of power held and power released. They surrendered it. Caesar did not. Stop at the doorway. Press your hand against the stone frame. Behind you, sunlight from the portico entrance. Ahead, the dim chamber, oil lamps on marble, the curule chair, the statue of Pompey, the circle that waits. Caesar's shadow falls through the doorway, long, stretched, reaching ahead of him into the room where he will die. He does not know this. He is thinking about the Parthian campaign, the agenda, the letters. Step aside. Let him pass. Caesar enters the Curia. The circle begins to form. The smell hits first. Copper, sudden and sharp, replacing the clean morning air with something older, something the body recognizes before the mind names it. Blood. Your hands feel sticky. The light shifts, morning gold flattening to afternoon grey. The shadows rotating on the marble floor as the sun arcs overhead in a single compressed movement. The circle closes. Daggers flash, brief, metallic, catching lamplight. Voices shout, bodies run. The Senate empties in a flood of white togas through every doorway. Benches overturn. Wax tablets scatter across the floor. Time accelerates. Noon, 1, 2. The building falls silent. The corridors empty. Footsteps recede. Doors close. The Curia holds nothing but smoke from the oil lamps, the smell of blood, and a body on the floor. Silence. The sound of a single drop, liquid falling from the edge of the curl chair to the marble below. The room that held the government of the world holds nothing but a corpse and its shadow. 3 in the afternoon. March 15th, 44 BC. The Curia Pompeia. Empty. The moment locks. The Curia Pompeia. Step inside. The room is empty. 200 senators sat here this morning, and their absence is a physical weight, a vacuum of bodies, of breath, of the low hum that fills any chamber where men gather to argue about power. The oil lamps still burn, lower now, the wicks long and curling, the flame steady in air that nobody disturbs. The light has changed, flatter. The angular afternoon sun reaching through the high windows at a different pitch than the morning gold that lit Caesar's entrance. The benches are scattered, knocked from their ordered rows, some overturned, others shoved against the walls. Wax tablets litter the floor, styluses rolled into corners. Pick up the nearest tablet. The surface shows notes in a senator's hand. Shorthand minutes from the session's opening moments. The last ordinary words of the Roman Republic scratched in wax. The curule chair lies on its side, crouched beside it. Gilded wood, the ivory inlays cracked where it struck the marble. The cushion of Tyrian purple, the most expensive dye in the ancient world, extracted drop by drop from sea snails, is darkened with something. Wine, perhaps, from the impact, or blood tracked by running feet. This chair was the seat of the dictator Perpetuo. It lies on its side in a pool of its owner's blood. The chair does not know it is a metaphor. It is furniture, broken. Follow the blood. The trail begins near the center of the room, where Casca struck from behind, where the circle formed. Splashes here, irregular, the geometry of a man spinning, trying to defend himself against blades coming from every direction. Walk the trail. It leads from the center toward the far wall. Handprints on the marble floor. Caesar's, the palms wide, the fingers splayed. He crawled, then staggered, then crawled again. The handprints on the marble pedestal of Pompey's statue, 3 of them, each lower than the last. He tried to pull himself up. His grip failed 3 times. 2 pugiones on the floor, dropped, abandoned, their blades dark and wet. Pick up the nearest. The blade is smeared, the leather grip slick with sweat. The weapon is still warm from a man's hand. The daggers struck. Some conspirators took their weapons. Others dropped them and ran. These 2 blades will never be matched to their owners. The forensics of political murder, imprecise, chaotic, the opposite of the clean philosophical act the conspirators imagined. He lies at the base of the statue. On his back, the toga pulled over his face. The Roman gesture. Cover your death from the world. Kneel beside him. The toga is heavy with blood, the purple dye and the red making a colour that has no name in Latin or any other language. 23 wounds beneath the fabric. Pull back the toga's edge. His face, 55 years old. The thin hair, the high forehead, the features stamped on more coins than any living Roman. His expression is whatever the last expression was. The ancient sources disagree, and the face itself has settled into something beyond reading. His right hand lies open, the fingers slightly curled. His left grips a fold of the toga, the instinct to cover the face, the last voluntary act. Dying, he arranged his own death. The physician Antistius will examine this body tonight, the first forensic autopsy in recorded Roman history. The neck wound from Casca. Shallow, a glancing blow, the first strike. Press the toga aside at the chest. A thrust between the second and third ribs, left side, penetrating the lung. The second blow, the fatal one. Caesar was dying from the second stroke. Everything after, 21 more wounds to the thighs, the back, the face, was redundancy. The frenzy of too many men in too little space. Some wounds were inflicted by conspirators cutting each other in the press. Brutus's own hand was slashed by a colleague's blade. Antistius will declare, 1 wound fatal, 22 others. The autopsy of the Republic. Stand up, face the statue. Pompey, 10 feet of marble, military dress, right arm extended in triumph. The expression carved decades ago, serene, victorious, the permanent confidence of stone. Press your hand against the pedestal, warm from the body's proximity. Caesar's blood has pooled against the base, soaked into the seam between pedestal and floor. Pompey and Caesar. Allies, rivals, enemies. Caesar destroyed Pompey at Pharsalus. Pompey's building hosts the destruction of Caesar. The architecture of revenge, unconscious and complete. Step back to the center of the room. Look down. Caesar's blood on the marble floor. A dark pool 8 feet across, reflecting the oil lamp flames above in miniature orange points. The blood has spread along the seams between marble tiles, following the grout lines in a geometric pattern. A web of red radiating from the central pool, branching at right angles where grout meets grout. A map drawn in blood on white stone. At the edges, the blood has dried to brown. At the center, still liquid, still bright. And in the surface of the pool, a reflection. Pompey's statue, inverted, looking up from the red. The dead rival watching from below. The marble face, the extended arm, the carved triumph, all held in a mirror of blood. 23 wounds made this pool. 482 years of republic end in this stain. The marble will be scrubbed by morning. The room will be sealed, later demolished. But the stain on Roman history has not dried in 2,000 years. Out of the Curia, through the corridor, the busts still watching from their pedestals, through the portico, empty now, into afternoon light. The Palatine Hill rises to the south. Climb the steps, steep, the sun warm on your face after the cold of the murder room. The temple of Jupiter, Optimus Maximus, the sacred summit, the greatest temple in Rome, its columns throwing long afternoon shadows down the hillside. The conspirators cluster on the temple steps. A dozen men in blood-marked togas, daggers still in hand, some still unsheathed. Decimus's gladiators ring the perimeter. Professional fighters, armed, their bodies scarred from the arena. Examine the nearest. A retiarius, the net fighter type, his arms bearing rope burns and blade scars from years of combat. He holds a short sword, not a net. Today he is a bodyguard, not an entertainer. These men kill for sport and money. The senators they guard killed for principle. The gladiators are more honest about what they do. Marcus Brutus stands at the top of the steps. His right hand is wrapped in a strip torn from his own toga. Unwrap the bandage. The wound runs across the palm, a clean slice from another conspirator's dagger. In the press of bodies around Caesar, someone's blade caught Brutus's hand. His blood and Caesar's on the same edge. His face is not triumph, not relief. Something harder to name, the weight of having done what he believed was necessary, and the first suspicion that it was not enough. He addressed the fleeing senators. "People of Rome, we are free again." The forum did not answer. The people did not celebrate. They ran. Cassius beside him, dagger sheathed, arms crossed, scanning the forum below. His face is calculation. The killing was the easy part. Winning the city, the legions, the republic back, that begins now. He expected celebration. He expected the Senate to reconvene and vote the conspirators saviors of the state. Instead, empty streets, barred doors, silence. Grip the hem of his toga. The fabric is blood-marked, dark spots on white wool. 4 hours old, already drying to brown. Decimus Junius Brutus. Albinus stands apart, near the gladiators, not the senators. Examine his hands, blood under the nails. The knuckles are bruised. The skin over the right hand split, with the grip of a Puggio pressed hard through the act. The calmest man in the room an hour ago. The deepest betrayal wearing the quietest expression. He is exactly as far from Brutus as his conscience requires. Walk to the edge of the steps. Look down at the Forum Romanum, the political heart of the world, spread below. Empty. Shops shuttered. The rostra abandoned. The basilicas dark. A city of 1 million people, holding its breath. A few figures move through the open space. Servants on unavoidable errands. A dog crossing the paving stones. The silence is wrong. The forum is never silent. Lawyers, merchants, politicians, beggars, vendors fill it from dawn to dusk, with a noise that is the sound of civilization working. Today, nothing. The absence of noise is the loudest thing the conspirators have ever heard. They planned the killing. They did not plan the silence. The sun hangs low behind the Janiculum hill. The western sky is orange and red, the light catching the temple columns in a warm glow that does not match the day. Press your hand against the marble step, the day's heat stored in stone, radiating upward. The last warmth of the last day of the Republic. Tomorrow the Senate will convene under armed guard. The amnesty will be negotiated. The institutions will grind forward, their forms preserved, their substance gone. But that is tomorrow. Tonight, conspirators on a hill, a body in a Senate chamber, and Rome not knowing what it is. Where is Antony? The same threshold, the same vestibulum, the same atrium, the same light through the compluvium. Caesar's house, the rooms from the storm, now in daylight, now in grief. The servants move differently, quickly, the rhythm of emergency, voices carrying from the back rooms, orders, tears, the logistics of disaster. The smell of the house is the same, bread, incense, the faint trace of last night's wine. The house does not yet know what its owner's blood smells like. Calpurnia is in the atrium, standing, not sitting, her hand on the column beside the impluvium pool. She knows. The news arrived by messenger. She dreamed this, the blood, the body, the collapse. She warned him. She begged. She was overruled by a friend's smile. Press the column beside her hand. Feel the spot where her grip has rested for hours, the marble warm from her skin. She has no children, no political power, no faction. Caesar's will names Octavian, not her. The house she stands in will be claimed by politicians within days. A widow with no heir in a city run by men with swords. A slave kneels in the vestibulum. A young man, perhaps 20, his forehead pressed against the floor. Weeping, touch his shoulder. The rough fabric of his tunic, the shaking of a body that has lost its certainty about what comes next. He has no name in the historical record. Caesar's household numbered hundreds. Each one loses a master today, and with that master, certainty. Under Roman law, a slave's testimony is only valid under torture. If these walls could speak, the law would have to break them first. Walk to the tablinum, the same room from the night, the Parthian map on the wall. Touch it. The red ink lines, the legion positions, the supply depots along the route to the Euphrates. All waste. 16 legions will receive no orders. The greatest military operation since Alexander, cancelled by 23 stab wounds. The will, still sealed in its wooden case, the wax stamp of the Julian star unbroken. Within days, Antony will break the seal. The document that reshapes the world sits in its case and waits. Pick up the half-read scroll from the reading couch. Caesar's last piece of correspondence. Abandoned mid-sentence, when the dinner conversation turned to philosophy. He never came back to finish it. The couch in the triclinium still bears the indent of Caesar's body from last night's dinner. Press your hand into the impression. The wool has held the shape, the warmth long gone, a ghost of weight. The wine cups from last night sit uncollected on the table. Caesar's cup, Decimus's cup, side by side, the host and the betrayer, their cups still touching at the rim. The body will arrive soon, carried by 3 slaves on the same litter that bore a dictator this morning, one arm dangling from the stretcher edge. Calpurnia will wash the body. She will count the wounds. She will remove the toga, the purple wool so heavy with blood it cannot be lifted without help. She will find the signet ring missing. Antony already has it. The forum in late afternoon. Shadows long across the paving stones. The basilicas silent. The temples attended only by priests who have no choice but to attend. The space is designed for thousands and holds dozens. Your footsteps echo off the temple of Castor and Pollux, off the Basilica Aemilia, off every surface built to absorb the noise of Roman public life, and now returning it in hollow repetition. The rostra stands empty. The speaker's platform, the bronze ship prows catching afternoon light, grip the wooden rail, the same rail as before, worn smooth by generations of orators' hands. But the forum below is empty. In 5 days, Brutus will stand here and deliver a measured, philosophical defense of the killing. The crowd will listen. They will not be convinced. The next day, Antony will stand here. He will hold up Caesar's toga, 23 holes visible, and name each wound. He will read the will. The crowd will build a pyre and burn Caesar's body on the spot. Then they will hunt the conspirators. The rail holds your weight as it has held 1,000 speakers. Wood, brass nails, history. The shop fronts along the Via Sacra, closed, shuttered, the wooden boards drawn down and latched. Press your face to a crack in the shuttery of a bakery. Inside, ovens cold, flour on the counter, loaves half-shaped and abandoned mid-need. The baker heard the news and stopped. Rome runs on commerce. Grain, wine, oil, pottery, textiles, 1 million people fed by a network of supply and trade. The network has paused, not stopped. Paused, waiting to learn what comes next. Mark Antony is somewhere in this city, moving, planning, assembling power. You cannot see him, nobody can. That is the point. He disguised himself as a slave after the assassination and went home. Then he sent for Caesar's documents. Then he secured the treasury. Then he contacted Lepidus, who controls the only legion near Rome. The conspirators sit on the Capitoline debating philosophy. Antony acquires the instruments of power: money, soldiers, documents, the signet ring. The man they spared because Brutus called killing him murder is building the machinery of their destruction. The public notice board near the rostra. Wooden boards with nailed-up announcements. Read them. Caesar's name on every decree. Grain distributions, public games, judicial appointments. Gives if live Caesar dictator perpetuo. A fresh notice posted this morning before the session. The agenda for today's meeting. Item 3. Approval of supplies for the Parthian campaign. Nobody is reading it. Beside it, an older notice. The decree naming Caesar dictator perpetuo. Voted in February. The document the conspirators killed to revoke. Still nailed to the board. Nobody has taken it down. The title outlasts the man. A child sits on the steps of the Temple of Saturn. Small, perhaps 8 years old, her legs dangling over the step edge, a half-eaten bread roll in her hand. She watches the empty forum with the frank curiosity of someone too young for politics. This child will grow up under the emperors, Augustus, Tiberius, the succession of one-man rule that begins today. She will never know the Republic. For her, the world that starts with this afternoon is the only world that exists. Her hair is dark, tangled. The future looks back at you and doesn't recognize what it has lost. A public fountain near the temple, water suspended mid-pour from a bronze spout, a solid curve hanging above the stone basin. The only sound in the stopped forum is the hum of water that cannot finish falling. Dip your hand, cold, clean, the same water that feeds the aqueducts, that supplies the baths, that has flowed through this city since the engineers first tamed the hills. The water does not care about politics. It flowed under the kings, under the republic, under the dictators. It will flow under the emperors. The fountain hums. The city is silent. The water keeps running. The fountain's sound fades. Marble grows cold under your feet. The afternoon light dims, the shadows lengthening until they merge with the walls, until the forum dissolves into darkness. The Curia reforms around you. The smell of blood returns, copper and iron, sharp in the still air. The oil lamps, the scattered benches, the overturned chair, the body at the base of Pompey's statue, the same pool, the same silence, the marble face looking down, Caesar at the base of Pompey's statue, toga over his face, blood on marble, unchanged, still frozen. The moment you entered, preserved. The 60 men who killed Caesar to save the Republic guaranteed its destruction. They diagnosed the disease correctly. One man had swallowed the state. The Constitution was dead in all but name. The machinery of self-government had been replaced by the machinery of one man's will. They were right about all of it. And the cure they prescribed killed the patient more thoroughly than the disease ever could. 18 years of civil war. Proscription lists, heads on the rostra, legions marching against legions. And at the end, not the Republic restored, but an emperor, younger, colder, more patient than Caesar, building a tyranny so elegant that the Romans thanked him for it. Brutus fades, still on the Capitoline, his wounded hand wrapped in his own toga, the blood on his palm drying in the afternoon air, the philosopher who believed that killing a man could kill an idea. He is still standing when the marble dissolves around him. Calpurnia fades, still in the atrium, her hand on the column, the grip that has not loosened since the news arrived. The woman who dreamed the truth and was overruled by a smile. She is still standing when the walls go soft. The child on the temple steps fades, still holding her bread, still watching the empty forum with eyes that do not understand. The future, sitting on old stone, waiting for a world it cannot yet imagine. She is the last to go. The marble softens. The columns lose their edges, their straight lines curving, blurring, the hard geometry of Rome dissolving into something warm and formless. The smell of blood thins, replaced first by stone, then by linen, then by the particular stillness of your own room. The forum's echo fades. The lamplight dims to the ambient glow of a window, a hallway, the soft light that belongs to the place where you sleep. Gravity straightens. The floor is level beneath you. The tilt of the Capitoline steps, the cold of the Senate marble, the warmth of the afternoon sun, all gone. The covers are around you. The pillow holds the shape of your head, the smell of home, fabric softener, or night air, or the particular nothing that your own space smells like because you have stopped noticing. Rest now. Sleep.